Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to be diving deep into some of the most controversial, most debated, and let's be honest, most powerful ideas from Robert Greene's infamous book, The 48 Laws of Power. Whether you see this thing as a masterclass in strategy or a straight-up guide to manipulation, you just can't deny its impact. So in this explainer, we're going to dissect 12 of these laws and really try to uncover the psychology of influence.
I wanted to start with this quote right here because it just cuts right to the heart of everything Greene talks about. See, power isn't about brute force. Not really. It's a really sophisticated game of psychology. And understanding this one thing, that humans crave patterns and predictability, well, that's not just an advantage. It's your greatest weapon, because it means you can subvert their expectations whenever you want. So, to make sense of these complex and, often dark ideas, I've broken this explainer down into 3 core themes. First up, we're going to tackle strategic deception, the art of controlling information. Then, we'll move into building a powerful aura, which is all about shaping how people see you. And finally, we'll get into the ruthless application of absolute influence. Think of this as our roadmap for the journey. All right, let's dive right into our first section, strategic deception. These first few laws, they're all about controlling perception. What people see, what they think they know, and what they believe about you. According to Greene, this is the absolute bedrock. It's the foundation that all other forms of power are built on. So the very first law we're going to look at is maybe the most important. Conceal your intentions. Basically, never let anyone know the real purpose behind what you're doing. Think about it. If people have no idea what you're actually after, they can't possibly prepare a defense. You keep them guessing. You keep them reacting to your decoys and your misdirections, all while you're steadily moving towards your real, hidden goal. Yeah, the idea is to keep people perpetually off balance and in the dark. When your true goal is a mystery, everyone else is forced to waste their energy reacting to things that don't even matter. They can't see your real move coming, which means they have no way to effectively stop it. And that gives you total control of the entire situation. And Greene breaks this down into a few really clever tactics. This isn't about telling crazy elaborate lies. It's more about strategic information management. You can use what he calls smokescreens, create obvious but totally fake goals to distract everybody. You can use a kind of false sincerity, appearing really genuine to hide a completely ruthless agenda. Or you can practice selective transparency, sharing small, harmless truths to make people trust you, all while your real objective is hidden in plain sight. Okay, so if the first law is all about hiding your goals, this next one is about hiding your patterns. Create an air of unpredictability. See, once you've hidden where you're going, you also have to hide the path you're taking to get there. Greene calls this embracing a kind of calculated chaos. It means you switch up your behavior. One day you're kind, the next you're stern, so people never know which version of you they're going to get. It means deliberately changing your routines so nobody can take advantage of your habits. And this last one is the most cunning of all. Occasionally, you act against your own immediate interests. This tactic is just brilliant because it completely scrambles an opponent's logic. It makes you seem irrational, and because of that, dangerous and impossible to read. So, this is a crucial point. We're moving from simple deception now into active manipulation. And the most effective deception of all is the kind where the other person feels like they are completely 100% in control of their own decisions. And here's how you do it. You don't demand what you want, you engineer the choices. First, you give them a limited set of options. But here's the trick. Every single one of those options leads back to what you want. Then, you frame those decisions in a way that makes your preferred choice seem like the most obvious, most logical one. Finally, you can create a false dichotomy, an either-or choice where one option is clearly terrible, forcing them to pick the one you wanted all along. They walk away feeling like they made a choice, feeling empowered, and they never ever realize they were just guided to your goal. Now this might sound like it completely contradicts everything we've just talked about, but honestly, that's what makes it so powerful. Greene argues that a single, well-placed act of honesty can be your most effective weapon of deception. He calls it selective honesty. It's like the Trojan horse of power plays. This is all about what you could call strategic vulnerability. By admitting to some small, insignificant fault, you create this overall impression of honesty and humility. And what does that do? It makes people lower their guard. You can also use one truth as a smokescreen. Offer up a genuine piece of information just to distract from a much, much bigger secret you're protecting. It really is all about the timing. A single moment of honesty at just the right time can disarm even the most suspicious person. Okay, let's move on to our next section. So once you've mastered the art of controlling information, The next stage is to shape your very presence, your aura. This is all about managing how people perceive you and how they value you.
This law is all about the power of enigma. I mean, think about it. We live in an age of oversharing, where every little detail is out there. In a world like that, mystery has become this incredibly rare and valuable thing. It creates intrigue, it creates fascination, and it elevates your status, because people tend to project their own fantasies onto what they don't know. They imagine more than what's actually there.
So the key is to carefully manage the flow of information about yourself. Practice selective silence. The less you say, the more profound you seem. Leave some of your actions unexplained. People will come up with their own theories about you, and they often make you seem way more brilliant than you actually are. And finally, you hint at these hidden depths of knowledge or skill without ever fully showing your hand. The goal is to find that delicate balance. You want to be intriguing, but not so distant that you're just unapproachable. This is such a classic hallmark of power, and it flows right from that idea of mystery. Powerful people impress, and let's face it, they often intimidate, simply by being really economical with their words. I mean, the more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish or to give away information that you shouldn't have. Concise communication makes every single word you speak carry more weight. And strategic silences, in a conversation, they're unbelievably powerful. They create this vacuum of tension, and it forces the other person to rush in and fill the void. And they often end up revealing their own intentions and their own insecurities in the process. All right. This next law is all about the perception of your talent. Your actions have to seem natural, executed with grace. You know, like a swan gliding across the water. The frantic paddling underneath the surface, all the hard work, the practice, the failures, that has to stay completely invisible. This is really about building an illusion of innate genius. You never, ever talk about the long hours, the endless practice, the mistakes. You just present the flawless final product. By always maintaining your composure, even when you're under intense pressure, you give the impression that you're never even really being tested. And by showing off skills in different areas with what looks like no effort, you create this aura of effortless superiority that can be deeply, deeply intimidating to your rivals.
Now for a law that plays on a really fundamental economic principle. Scarcity increases value. And the exact same thing is true for your social presence. If you're always around, you just become common. But strategic absence, well, that makes you a rare commodity.
Look at this comparison here. If you are constantly present, you become common, predictable, and your value goes down. But with strategic absence, you become more talked about. A mystery is created around why you're gone. And then, when you return, your value is actually increased because people have had a chance to miss you and appreciate what you bring to the table even more. It's all about creating demand by temporarily withdrawing the supply. And the supply, in this case, is you. So, we've covered the foundation of deception and the projection of a powerful aura. Now we move into the final and, frankly, the most ruthless set of laws. These are all about the direct application of power in your dealings with other people, especially your rivals and your enemies. This is maybe the most brutal and uncompromising law in the entire book. And it says that when you're dealing with an enemy, things like half measures and mercy are just mistakes. Mistakes that will almost certainly come back to haunt you. The logic behind this is chillingly simple. If one ember is left alight, no matter how dimly it smolders, a fire will eventually break out. An enemy who is only partially beaten is just a future threat who's nursing a grudge. They will recover, they will regroup, and they will seek revenge. So, to ensure your own long-term safety, any threat has to be neutralized, completely. The logic of this law is simple too. To maintain your own independence, you have to make other people dependent on you. It's that straightforward. If people need you, they can't afford to get rid of you. And you can cultivate this necessity in a few ways. You can develop a skill that's so unique that you become indispensable. You can create what's called information asymmetry, which is just a fancy way of saying you control access to knowledge that other people need to succeed. Or, on a more personal level, you can foster emotional dependence, becoming a crucial source of validation or support for someone. In any of these cases, you secure your position not through force, but through pure necessity. This next law taps into a very deep, and you might say cynical human truth. People often prefer a comforting illusion to a harsh reality. Greene argues that appealing to the truth is often a huge strategic mistake. Real power comes from playing to people's fantasies. The whole idea here is that you gain so much more power by becoming a kind of dealer in fantasy. First, you have to identify the unspoken dreams and the deep-seated desires of the people around you. Then, you craft these compelling stories and promises that line up perfectly with those fantasies. You're offering them an escape from their boring, unpleasant reality. And when you do that, you're not just the leader, you're a source of hope, and that is an immensely powerful position to be in.
And now, we arrive at our final and perhaps most invasive law. This is all about finding that one hidden vulnerability that gives you leverage over another person. Greene's central argument here is that every single person has a thumbscrew, a hidden weakness. This could be anything: a deep-seated insecurity, an uncontrollable emotional need, a secret pleasure, a hidden fear. Your job is to find it.
Discovering this weakness, it's an art of observation. You have to watch for the subtle cues in body language. You have to listen actively, not just to what people say, but how they say it, and more importantly, what they avoid saying. And sometimes, you might have to carefully test a few boundaries just to find out where their sensitive areas are. Once you know a person's thumbscrew, you hold a powerful lever of influence that you can use whenever you need to.
So after walking through these 12 laws, from strategic deception all the way to, crushing your enemy totally, I want to leave you with this final thought. Are these laws just a neutral, amoral toolkit for navigating a harsh world? Or does the very act of chasing and using power in this way, does it inevitably corrupt the user? It's a question really worth thinking about.
Ultimately, whether you see these laws as a guide for your own ambition or maybe a manual for self-defense, understanding the dynamics of power is absolutely crucial. And we've only just scratched the surface with these 12. If you're interested in exploring all 48 laws in their full, controversial detail, you can find a link to Robert Greene's book down in the description. Thanks for watching.